we're the true believers, but we believe like the Bible says. All right? So read that, Matthew 10, verse 5 and 6.
Matthew 10 and verse 5.
Oh yeah, go over there and help him, please. So, yeah, sorry y'all. Y'all know that internet. And the sister asked a question about really what could we do from here. Really, we upgraded the computer already. The only thing we haven't upgraded is the motherboard. But we upgraded the RAM, we upgraded the CPU. So really it's just us making sure the settings between YouTube and Wirecast are correct, or just get rid of Wirecast in its entirety. That's what she was asking about, what could be done. So we got to figure that out. That being said, we got a new brother in class. We're going over some basics to show him, first of all, why do we identify ourselves as the Hebrew Israelites? Why don't we identify ourselves as Christians or Baptists or Pentecost? First of all, because you don't read about those names in the Bible. You read about Christians when the apostles were mocked, being told to them that they were followers of Christ. But organized Christianity, the ideas is not in the Bible. So I'm going to say it again. Christmas is not in the Bible. The worship of bunnies laying eggs and egg hunting on Easter is not in the Bible. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That ain't got nothing to do with anybody that believes in the Bible. But Christianity adopted these heathenistic customs, and now people serve those things. All right? So I'm going to go into why are we going to the Hebrew Israelites? Why, when you go in the Christian church, their focal point is not talking to the Israelites? Why? I mean, everybody came out of church. How come they don't tell you, you so-called Negroes, you're the true Jews that the Bible speaks of, Christ looked like you, and you're the chosen people of God? Why don't religions tell you that? Why?
They will lose a lot of people.
They'll lose a lot of people. Why though? Why would they lose a lot of people if they tell people the truth?
Because it's exclusive. It leaves people out.
Right, it leaves people out. And in what way will Christ being black leave people out?
Because they wouldn't feel dominant anymore. They wouldn't feel their superiority.
You say it a little louder?
They wouldn't feel their superiority anymore. They wouldn't feel like, they would feel how we feel now.
Right. The roles would be switched. So this is why Christianity doesn't tell you everything in the Bible. So what we're doing is going through the Bible, and we found out, all of us studying, even y'all new brothers and sisters that study, you woke up based on, wait a minute, there's a lot of things. Your family's Christians, right? But what woke you up as a Christian?
What woke me up was...
I mean, I know there's a lot, but go through it.
When the brother was going into the curses.
Okay, the curses. And that's what we're going to touch over tonight. We're going to go over how do we know who the Hebrew Israelites are and why is that significant, important in believing in the word, right? Okay, what else caught your attention that when you was dealing with religions, right? Because we're not a religion. We're people coming back to our identity, our nationality, our true culture, right? So what woke you up?
The biggest point was, of course, Christ being black and overhearing that one person...
So Christ being dark-skinned,
right.
One of the things that sparked your mind, because Christianity teaches what?
That
he's Caucasian. Right? What else?
And then also the law.
Okay, the laws in the Bible that we were supposed to keep. We don't supposed to eat shrimp, pork, crab, lobster, oysters, caviar, crawfish, chitlins, gizzards, right? All that madness, right? So that kind of it's on the topic, but why did that interest you?
The biggest thing was I noticed that the more like I said, the harder I tried to go to church,
Right?
it was just getting hard for me to stay in church.
Why?
It was just something was forcing me out.
Someone was forcing you out. What was it? Was it what was taught? Was it?
It was what was being taught, and it was a lot of contradiction. Like you'll see things that will happen in church, and then when you question it, it's like, well, you tell me that we ain't supposed to be, we supposed to be here on Sundays, but different things.
Right.
You see different things happening on the Sunday worship.
Right.
That don't make sense.
Don't make sense to the worship.
Right.
Right.
And then the first thing you come up with is money. Money is like the topic of every
Right.
service.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like when service start, tithes and offering.
Right.
Then another offering.
Yeah.
There's another offering.
Right.
And then it's like, okay.
You can escape.
Right. It's like I can't just come to church. That's not the. I always got to give money.
Right. Right. The whole goal was
Yeah. It was always in
financial.
Come.
Yeah. It's those reasons that a lot of us, we came out of Christianity or these different religions. So just to be clear, to be a Hebrew Israelite is not a religion.
Come.
It's people waking back up to our identity, our culture. So when we go through the Bible, we find out that you're called an African American. That's not true. Because your history goes further back and your identity goes back to biblical identities. And when you look at our biblical identity, you find out there's no such thing as African American. There's no such thing as white people. So where are we in this Bible? So, and why is that important? Because religion, that doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why is it in there? So this is what we, just giving the young brother some edification on what we teach, why we teach it, why do we bring out these things? Because the religions ain't doing it. Yeah.
And also in church, a lot of the stories or a lot of things that are preached in the Bible, they're taught as a fairy tale.
Right.
It's never pointed out that this is a real event that actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, give an example.
Just like with the, like when I went over the, who was it? I went over the 3 holy children with my children.
Okay.
And I was telling them, like, in church, they really didn't go into the depthness of it, of what was so significant about just what happened with the 3 Hebrew boys.
Okay.
How you had the, when the music started, just like even now, how time repeats itself. As soon as you hear that music, they're supposed to turn and bow to the statue. Just like now, you hear the national anthem, you're supposed to stand and salute
and that was in church.
Yeah, in church.
So when they go over the song of the 3 holy children, it's like a ceremony.
No, when they go to the song of the 3 holy children, they skip that part of it and they just go into, they got thrown in the fiery furnace, but you never hear
the story, the historical substance.
Right. Why did it apply to today?
Right.
And it's like you hear these different stories in the Bible.
I mean, churches didn't really teach us.
Right.
I just got off the phone with somebody earlier. We were talking about the law. He said the law wasn't done away with, but then I said, well, why are you not keeping it? He said, because it's got to be spiritual. I said, okay, if it got to be spiritual, then that means you got to lock into the spirit, right? And I asked him, what is the spirit? He didn't know what the spirit was. So
it's the dwelling of the Lord.
It's the dwelling of the Lord, like
unmerited favor.
Right. So exactly, but that's the ignorance of what religion is about, and what the Bible is something different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that the Bible is something different than religion. Every time you bring up the Bible, it's like, oh, you guys are religious. Religious to them, listen, religion is, I'm going to preach God, leave church, and go do something else.
Roll my blunt.
Right. Yeah. I can say I believe in God, and then go eat some pork, go be a faggot, be a transsexual, be a switch hitter, be a dopehead, and you can't judge according to religion. But the Bible tells us something else, right? And those truths in the Bible we talk about all the time. You know what I mean? We go over to shut down what religion has taught us that simply ain't true. So one of the most important things is why the Israelites. Go to Matthew 10, 5 and 6. Read that.
Matthew chapter 10 and verse 5.
Yeah.
These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying.
So this is another thing not taught in religion. Like that God had a chosen people. To them it don't matter. Right? This is the New Testament. Right? But they still won't bring it back to God had a chosen people in the New Testament. Christ went to his people in the New Testament. So he got a commandment. He got his apostles up and he gave them a specific commandment. Go ahead.
Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
So a Gentile was anybody outside of God's chosen people, which were the Israelites. Now, that being said, not the Israelis over there in the land, not the so-called Jews that are over there in New York wearing black hats and long black coats, but the true Israelites. And this is where we come in. When we were brought into slavery and captivity, you were called nigger, right? The Mexicans were called spics, right? You were called the porch monkey, jigaboo, right? So all these names you were called. You're called black. But all I see is some Carmel niggas in here. You ain't black. None of y'all in this room, and I know I'm light-skinned, but are black. Even if you come to Zion and y'all kind of like chocolates. Y'all not black. Your beard is black. Your hair is black. But his skin is chocolate. So they identified us with this color. Black is what? Nasty, ugly, filthy, dirty, gloomy, untrustworthy. And that's how they identify you, right? And they identify them as what? White, pure, innocent, holy. Chase. So, but it's funny, but it's why? Why did they put these labels on us? So they put these labels on us when we try to take the labels off and say, no, we're not under that label. We're not African American. Africa was one white man. America was another white man. Right? That wasn't our nationality. Where do we fit in at? Oh, you're niggas. No, we're not that. That's just another word, a Latin word that means black. See? So, where do we fit in at? Where does the black man, the Hispanic man, Native American fit in at? And that's why we got to show it out of our history book. The Bible is not a religious book. It's a history book. That of a people. When you read from Genesis to Revelations about a people that were chosen of the Most High, set aside, and Christ comes back in the New Testament, he had to die for those people because they didn't listen. They were stubborn, stiff-necked, hard-headed. So read it one more time before we go to Deuteronomy real quick.
Matthew 10 and 5.
Right?
These 12 Jesus sent forth.
Go ahead.
And commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles.
Do what?
Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
Right.
And into any city of Samaria.
So don't go to the Gentiles. Don't go to the other nations. A Gentile was anybody outside the nation of Israel, the chosen people. Nor in the land of Samaria. I don't want you to go there. Go ahead.
Enter ye not.
Go ahead.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Why does he call you the lost sheep? Because we're the only ones calling ourselves blacks, Crips, Bloods, right? We took in on the identity of everything this nation told us to be. They told you to be a Democrat. When we were on the slave ships, which ones was the Democrats? Which ones were the Republicans? Which ones were the Crips and the Bloods? Which ones were the S.O.W? to the beehive, right? Which ones were the politicians? All these constructs are Greco-Roman ideas. Where do we go back to? So we go back to the Bible. We go back to the history of who we are. So he said go to them because they're lost. And biblically, we called ourselves what? During that time, we were so lost, we were calling ourselves Galatians, Ephesians, Thessalonians, Corinthians, Romans, just like you do nowadays. You call yourself anywhere you were either sold or you ended up at. So the Puerto Rican says, oh, we're from this island of Hispaniola, right? So with the white man landed there, what did they say? It's a rich port. Come on now, that's not even a national. Basically, somebody just came up with a name and you said, oh yeah, that's my identity.
Yeah, Port of Riches.
Port of Riches.
Puerto Riches kid.
Yeah, or West Indian. It means West Savage. That's like a rapper coming up with something and you just be like, that's what I am. Oh, I'm from the hip hop nation.
Right,
that's my nationality.
That explains me.
That explains me. No, that's confusion. That's confusion. Go ahead.
And as ye go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Right, so us being the Israelites, we're scattered, we were lost, but Christ said go to them. All right? So I want you to go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and we're going to show him according to the Bible that how do we know we are the Hebrew Israelites? How do we know the so-called Negroes in America, he being the tribe of Judah, are the true Jews that the Bible speaks of? All right? So Christ said go to the Israelites. Jacob had 12 sons. Those 12 sons were known as the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, Issachar. Today we're called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, North American Indians, Seminole Indians, people from Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Uruguay, and the Mexicans. Those are just the lands we ended up at and they took us as slaves from. But how do we know that we're those people? How do we know? Because history. Do you know history? The history of the slaves? The cargo slave ships? Your ancestors brought over here on cargo slave ships? So what we're going to do is show you out of the Bible that was going to happen way before it did. And we're going to show you your true name. That he didn't say it was going to happen to no African Americans. Because you're not African. Your ancestry is not from Africa. The Africans are a whole different other nation. Yep. All right, I want you to give me the Zondervan definition, the ham. And then we're going to go to Deuteronomy 1 and 1 real quick. Go to Deuteronomy 1 and 1. Okay. And we're just touching on a little basics for him. And if y'all got any questions, y'all feel free to ask. All right? Go ahead and read that. Deuteronomy 1, verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1.
Go ahead.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Now, let me give you a little summary of